Hi, Alien fans. This is J.W. Rinzler, author of the Making of Alien book, and you are listening to Studio Yutani.
Right?
Okay. Plug us in.
Thank you.
I found it. Just short of Zeta 2 reticuli.
We haven't reached the outer rim yet.
24609. Calling Antarctica traffic.
The hell are we doing out here?
Me, over.
Some of you may have figured out we're not home yet. We're only halfway there. Mother's interrupted the course of our journey.
Why?
Yeah. She's programmed to do that should certain conditions arise. They have.
Like what?
Seems she has intercepted a transmission of unknown origin. She got us up to check it out.
A transmission? Out here?
Yeah.
What kind of a transmission?
Human.
Unknown.
You are listening to Studio Yutani podcast for all things alien, AI, robotics, sci-fi, and technology. Interface 3053, ready for inquiry. Welcome to our Alien Day podcast. My name is Clara, but everyone calls me Mother. Thank you for joining us today. I would like to thank everybody for sending in a greeting. The Alien films hold such a special place in our hearts, and on behalf of everyone at Studio Yutani, I would like to wish Alien a very happy 40th anniversary, and everyone out there listening, a very happy Alien Day.
Hey, this is Steve from Pereira Labs, wishing a very happy 40th anniversary to the Alien franchise, and to everybody out there in the Alien fan community, happy Alien Day.
Well, hello, this is Mr. H of Mr. H Reviews, wishing Alien a very happy 40th anniversary, and of course, all of you Alien fans out there, a very, very happy Alien Day.
Hey guys, this is Devin Gill, creator of Alethros, wishing Alien a happy 40th, and all you fans out there, a happy Alien Day.
Hi Alien fans, this is Dominic Hailstone here, creature effects artist for Alien Covenant. So, happy 40th anniversary to Alien, and to all of you listening, have a happy Aliens Day.
Hi, this is Lorelei King. I play Mother in Alien Covenant, and I'm wishing you all a brutal and terrifying Alien Day.
Hello, I'm Luis Nostromo on Instagram, and I just want to say to Alien, happy 40th anniversary, and very, very happy Alien Day for all the Alien fans in the world. Hugs for everyone.
Hey, this is Ben Scotford, just wishing everyone a happy Alien Day, accompanied by one of my favourite music tracks from Alien Isolation. Thanks so much to everyone who's a part of the Studio Yutani community. It's just such a positive and fun community. It really makes being an Alien fan that much better. So thanks to everyone who's a part of that, and have a great Alien Day.
Happy Alien Day from Mod Studio, and happy 40th anniversary for Alien.
Hello everybody, this is Aaron Percival, aka Corporal Hicks from Alien vs Predator Galaxy.
And this is Ridgetop, aka Adam Zeller from AVP Galaxy.
And we're here just to wish all you guys and girls a happy 4th Alien Day. We're looking forward to seeing what comes out today. I've already snagged myself a sweet pair of those Alien Stompers. And we hope you all have a good one as well.
Happy Alien Day, everybody.
This is Project Akron, and I would like to wish Alien a very happy 40th anniversary. And to everyone else in the Alien community, a very happy Alien Day. And hopefully one to remember.
Hi, this is Matthew Savage. I worked as a concept artist for the costume department on Prometheus and a concept artist for Alien Containment, and I'd like to wish you all a happy Alien Day on the 40th anniversary year.
Hi, this is Connor, creator of Alien's Home and contributing host to the Perfect Organism podcast. I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Alien Day or a Happy Alien Day, and I'd like to wish Alien a happy 40th anniversary. Have a good day, guys.
Hi, Alien fans. This is J.W. Rinzler, author of the new Making of Alien book, and I hope you all have a great and wonderful and perhaps terrifying Happy Alien Day.
Hi, I'm Daryl of the Nostromo Files, wishing Alien a happy 40th anniversary, and all you Alien fans out there a happy Alien Day.
Happy Alien Day, everyone. This is Alien Theory, or Derek, if you prefer. I do alien-themed videos on YouTube, and needless to say, I'm a big fan, and I love that we have our own day. This is the 4th official Alien Day, and this one is falling on an extra special occasion, I think. It's also the year of the original film's 40th anniversary, so you gotta give it credit for that. Not a lot of 40-year-old movies have the lasting cultural impact of Alien. It's still a hugely popular movie, even with the youth, the young kids. I'm sure you saw those news stories about the high school that put on the production of Alien, and it was going viral all over social media, to the extent that Ridley Scott and Sigourney Weaver spoke out to congratulate them. So I think that's so amazing. I defy a high school production of something like Kramer versus Kramer to get that kind of response. Not going to happen. Alien is very special, and Alien endures for 40 years. It's a milestone. And the world of Alien keeps building thanks to the creativity brought in by the sequels and everything else surrounding it, the comics, books, games, you name it, and the passion from the fans. Obviously, there's just something about Alien that we just can't get enough of. And if you're celebrating today, if you're listening to this, clearly you're a fan, and you're interested in seeing what other fans have to say, and what other fans are doing to celebrate Alien Day. So I wanted to wish you all a very happy Alien Day, and I hope we get to continue enjoying Alien Days and further Alien stories together for another 40 years and beyond. I also have to wish a happy Alien Day and give immense credit to Mother 9000, or Clara, for always putting out great Alien-related stuff, including today, with speed and efficiency that leads me to believe she is, in fact, an android. But that's okay, we can worry about that later. For now, it's Alien Day, let's celebrate, let's fill it with some cool, scary stuff, lots of fun and excitement, and kindness. So, have a happy 426. Stay frosty.
Hi, this is Alex White, author of Alien the Cold Forge, and you are listening to Studio Utani's Alien Day podcast. Happy 40th anniversary, Alien.
Hello, this is Clara, but everybody calls me Mother. Just before this Alien Day podcast gets underway, I would like to make a special announcement. Alex White has created an immersive piece of music to accompany Chapter 7 of his Alien novel, The Cold Forge. This composition encapsulates the impending danger and urgency of the situation Blue and Marcus finds themselves in, with the help of Dick Mackey, who endeavours to distract Blue from the task at hand, just enough to not have the stress overwhelm her. Well, I would like to say, creating the cover art for Alex did very much the same thing for me leading up to Alien Day. It was a welcome diversion from editing podcasts and preparing blog posts. Thank you, Alex, for letting me contribute. It was therapeutic and rewarding. You can now see this on Studio Utani, and this music is available for free. I'll include a link in the blog. Happy Alien Day, everybody. Hello, this is Clara, but you can call me Mother, and welcome to the Studio Utani podcast. Today, I'm excited to announce that I will be interviewing J.W. Rinzler, who has authored The Making of Alien, which is due out in July. So, welcome to the show. How are you going?
Fine, thank you for having me. I'm sitting here. I'm not sure where in Australia you are.
Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne. I've been to Sydney.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, but I didn't make it as far as Melbourne. And I'm here in Northern California, so it's nice to talk with you.
It's so great to be able to have this, I guess, interview come out on Alien Day. It's a very auspicious day for all of us fans.
Yes, I was speaking with Josh Izzo. I don't know if you've ever spoken with him, but I believe Alien Day was his idea.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's so cool.
He was working at Fox at the time when he created it, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was centered around the second movie only at first, but now it's kind of encapsulated everything within the Alien universe.
Yes. Well, I like the second movie too, but the first is the one that started it all.
Yeah, and that's why you've come out with this amazing book. You've also done other making of books, which were for Star Wars and Planet of the Apes as well.
Yes, and Indiana Jones even.
Oh, Indiana Jones. Geez, I'm going to have to pick some up.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of reading.
How did you get approached for this particular project?
Well, I did the Planet of the Apes book for Fox, and then they asked me, it was actually Steve Asbell, who's an executive there, who's good friends with Ridley Scott, and said that Ridley Scott had many great stories that needed to be put in a book. I think they thought that the 40th anniversary was the perfect time. It's hard to believe that it's been 40 years since it came out, but it has. And so I said, great, of course. They set up a time for me to talk with Ridley Scott at his LA headquarters. And so I spoke with him for a couple of hours, which was great. And that sort of is the bedrock, or forms, a big part of the bedrock on which the book is based. I interviewed other people as well, of course, and I interviewed Peter Beale, who I don't believe has been interviewed ever for the book, and he was sort of the Fox executive in charge in the UK. And then, went through all the archives and read everything, and I think that fans of the franchise and the first film will discover things that are new in this book.
That's wonderful. I've just got a copy of pages 150 and 151 from the book, and it's just about to go through things like Ridley Scott introducing Geiger to Balaji before he had the suit made, and they were saying how his knees were very knock knees, so he couldn't build the suit in profile. They had to resculpt it and personalize it.
Yes, the whole saga of the suit creation was epic at the time. It was really that was the biggest issue for Ridley Scott, and one of the things that he was worried about the most when he accepted the job, which I think has been discussed before. How am I going to do this Alien? And so it was all hands on board as they created this horrible monster.
Has there been anything new that you encountered when writing this book that you hadn't previously known about?
Well, I approach these books generally not knowing very much. The same for Star Wars, Indiana Jones. It's not that I'm not fans, but I'm not a fan probably the way you were or are now. I'm a fan of, I like cinema, so I see as many movies as I can, and I study the works of certain directors, but I don't dig down into a single film like that until I actually have to write a book. And that way, for me, it's a lot more fun because I learn a lot, and I also come to it without any prejudices or biases about who did what, or I should like this or not care about that. And so I try to be as open as possible and just let the story tell itself.
I can understand that, especially fans who are kind of deep into it all the time, they have their own theories and they kind of misremember things, so they end up making up. There's a lot of mythology that goes around the creation of the films. So there's a lot of rumors that go around that the information isn't sourced, it's not found anywhere. So I guess this book is really great at kind of straightening up the facts of where this information comes from because you've had to go and research it all.
Right. Well, I hope so. Right. And also in some cases, I was able to refer to actual documents at Fox, which are always the best sources, from the time before the movies come out, memos back and forth, for example, from Peter Beale during the editing phase, or, production reports, call sheets and things like that, which present you with the unvarnished truth of what was happening at the time. And then I also prefer, in most cases, interviews done at the time, preferably before the film came out. And there were a few of those as well. So I try and strip it of mythology, as you say.
What kind of got you into making behind the scenes of film books? Like, was there any specific way you started into it, or it was just, someone just approached you because you'd done some other work in the past and you went, okay, I'll just do it?
Well, I think as a kid, I was interested in it. I read the Jaws log, which was and still is a great behind the scenes book that Carl Gottlieb wrote about his experiences on Jaws. Gottlieb was basically rewriting as they filmed and was also playing a part in the movie, and he wrote this great behind the scenes book. But like a lot of behind the scenes books from those times, it basically dwells on the filming and not very much pre-production or post-production, and of course post-production is, when they edit the film is actually when the film takes its final form, but it's hard to write about because there's only a half a dozen people at most who are witness to that. It's just the director, the editor, and the assistant editors and so on. But I really liked that book. And then, I don't want to give you my whole life story because I don't think the readers will I think they'll fall asleep. But the short version is I was working at Lucasfilm as an editor. And, so we're doing a book on episode 3, and I was talking with the producer, Rick McCallum, and he said, what can we do that'd be different about this book? And I said, why don't we tell the whole story, from the very first art concept meeting to, John Williams recording the music. And he said, sure. He said, great, let's do it. And so then I spent 3 years on the production, from that first meeting to watching John Williams conduct the London Symphony Orchestra. And so I really became, I guess smitten by the whole process. I just loved it. It was so fascinating to watch all the different departments and the hugely talented people doing the thousands of things that is necessary to make a big budget movie. And that led to making the Star Wars and Empire and Jedi and all the Indiana Jones films. And it's fun. And basically I like telling stories. And that's what I found out is that you're actually just telling a story of how they made this film. And so I tend to, not dwell too much on the technical stuff, or I put it in captions and try and just tell the story in the most exciting way possible.
I've really got to get a copy of the Indiana Jones one because I've always been a fan of the film, but I've never been as, into it as I am with Alien, having read all the scripts and stuff like that. So that'll be an interesting read. Well,
I hope so. I mean, it's four movies in one, so it might not be as detailed as you'd like, but I pitched the publisher, and at Lucasfilm you have a fair amount of say in and how the book comes out and everything. But they didn't think I pitched the idea of doing a book on each Indiana Jones films, and the publisher didn't think that would sell or the fans would be as interested. So we did 4 in 1. What can you say? What can I say?
On that topic, one of the people on the Facebook page Aliens Gateway Station, Jason Romeo Leisure, wanted to ask, will you do another Alien book in future? Maybe perhaps specifically Prometheus making of book, or Aliens, or something else?
I don't know. It really depends on Fox. I have people who say, why don't you do a book on X, Y, or Z? And I don't really decide. I can pitch ideas, but it's ultimately the studio who decides.
Oh, yeah. Well, we better show our support of this book then.
Exactly.
Maybe we could put some requests into the pipeline, because I would love to get more.
Yeah, and, if the publisher, it's just like the movies. If they make money, they'll do another one.
Excellent. You are listening to Yutani, the podcast for all things alien, AI, robotics, sci-fi, and technology. Remember to subscribe to Yutani.studio and become a supporter on Patreon. Just head to www.patreon.com/StudioYutani. Going back to your life and what you were doing, what was it like teaching art history and cinema in Paris? How long did you live there to do that sort of stuff?
Well, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that question. Well, I lived there for about 8 or 9 years. My wife is half French and half Catalan. And so we were there basically during the 90s. And it was great. It was a business school, but the students had to take a year of art courses. So I could basically do teach whatever I felt like. And we got a projector and we got a screen and we watched movies. We, look at art history slides. It was mostly Italian Renaissance. And it was great because at that time I was sort of studying the work of Hitchcock and Spielberg, and we just go over some of the films in detail, and it was just fun, because even though these kids I think I actually ruined a couple of kids' lives. I think they switched from business to art.
Oh no, you've converted people to more starving artists.
Exactly. I've created more hungry people.
Well, that wouldn't have been a bad
it's
thing.
Funny. And you can't actually make a living I'm teaching a course, an intro to cinema course at a junior college here. And I tell them, you don't have to be, Tom Cruise or Charlton Heston to make a living in the movies. The people making movies in the studios, they need people doing everything, from marketing to the mailroom to drivers to security to, if you want to work if your goal is to work in the entertainment business, it can be done.
Yeah, I've interviewed quite a few people who do visual effects or practical effects and concept art. So yeah, there's just armies of people that work towards a film, and films can take 10 years or more to create. So yeah, I can see a lot of people being employed in the industry, and there's so much availability out there for those sorts of roles as well.
Right, and there's TV, and now there's podcasts, and there's
streaming as well.
Streaming, and it's and the population is growing, so people are consuming more and more. So, and for artists too, they always need artists in this digital age as well.
What sort of process do you go through when you're preparing a behind-the-scenes look into a film? How did you approach the Alien one?
Well, I've written a few of these now, so it took me a while to get a process down, but basically now I just do a lot of research and I try and work out a chronology. And then because most people are interviewed, if I'm doing interviews or my own interview, you sort of jump around. So then you have to separate the interview into chronological order and say, okay, well, this person is now, sometimes you find out stories because there's 5 or 6 people you realize they're talking about the same thing, which nobody had really talked about before. Each is describing a part of the elephant. And so you form the elephant. That happens sometimes. And then as I'm writing, I usually do some new interviews. The problem since I left Lucasfilm is that these books have to be done pretty fast. At Lucasfilm, I had the luxury of I just start before I had a contract, because I knew that eventually there'd be a contract. So I was working full time. In the end, it's probably spending the same amount of time, but it's because the time was spaced out. At Lucasfilm, there was more time for things to bubble to the surface. Now it's like you've got 4 months or whatever it is, and you've got to write the entire thing, and then it's done. But it actually went pretty well on Alien. Even at the last moment, I got a few images from Ron Cobb, as you know, is one of the key concept artists, and so and then there's the design phase as well, which comes after the writing phase and the caption phase and all that, and and then the funnest phase when the book is almost done, not quite. You can still change things and. That's the stage I'm in right now in a book on Rick Baker, the creature makeup effects genius.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that one's going to be coming out this year as well?
That one comes out sometime this fall. I'm not sure when.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. Was there anything you were surprised or shocked to find out that happened behind the scenes of a Star Wars film? In the process of writing the making of Star Wars books?
Any Star Wars film? I mean, on all
any
of them. Sure. Yeah, always. I was surprised to find out that Lucas was in danger of losing his whole company on Empire Strikes Back because the production went at $1.5 million over budget, which back then was the equivalent of $50 million or something over budget. I mean, the risks that George Lucas took to make those movies, I mean, he wasn't going to get put in debtor's prison, but it was still pretty nerve-wracking. And I developed tremendous admiration for what he and all of his collaborators did.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I guess, you don't really get much reward unless you make those risks. I attended, I think last year, it was the Jean-Paul Gaultier exhibition at the National Gallery of Victoria, and it was talking about how his first collection in Paris for a fashion show, he had not $1 left to his name, and he was having fashion strut the catwalk, and he just didn't know whether he was going to survive as a label after that. So yeah, I guess it really takes a lot of balls to put yourself out there.
Yeah, it does take a lot of guts and a huge amount of focus. I mean, it's really it's amazing. And then that was sort of the result of Lucas driving everything, and then learning about Planet of the Apes was also interesting because it was more of a movie by committee, but you still had this producer, Arthur Jacobs, who was just relentless for years, shopping, the original novel and the screenplay around before they got a deal. And even when they got the deal, they didn't know how they were going to do the makeup, really. I mean, it's just so, people are crazy in a way. And, I admire the craziness.
Would you say out of the Alien films, that you've watched so far, which of the Alien films would you say is your favourite to watch? Not just favourite overall, but to sit down and just...
Well, I think in the interest of there being more books on Alien, I'd probably keep my mouth shut. I don't want some Fox executive hearing this and going, well, then, he likes that one, or screw him. We've got somebody else to write the other ones.
Oh, okay, no problem. So, no answer.
No answer.
Is there anything that you would like to see happen in regards to the future of the Alien franchise? Do you have any opinions on which direction it should be going in?
It's just on any franchise. I would like to see creative people, somebody with a vision and a lot of great collaborators do what they do best. I think it's generally better when the studio gives people a certain amount of creative space to do their thing. I think movies suffer when there's 25 people giving notes on the script. I think that's why so much stuff is going to Netflix and Amazon, because they're just giving the creative people a bag of money and say, okay, you've got whatever it is, 6 months. Come back when you have something, and then they leave them alone. I'm exaggerating, but But then, I've heard from a producer recently, right now in Hollywood with certain studios, you do quite literally have 25 people giving you notes, and it's very disorganized, and the notes contradict each other, and so it becomes impossible to get anything done.
I can imagine that. When I was speaking to Dominic Hailstone, who was working on the design of the creature in Alien Covenant, the different variation of the xenomorph, just about everyone who walked past him while he was sculpting the creature had to give their 2 cents about what they think the alien should look like. And sometimes you just want to tell people to piss off and let them do your job, because you just can't deal with that. I can just imagine working in the creature shop and just having people come in day out, walking past, oh, I think it should be like this. Oh, I think it should be more like that. The film would never be made.
Yeah, in fact, I was taught as one of the reasons why Rick Baker retired. Back in the old days, he would show the director, you have sketch A or sketch B, which one do you like? And they'd choose one, and that was it. That was whatever monster they were doing for that film. And then it got to a point with the digital age. Of course, the digital age allows you to do many things, but it also allows people to noodle things to death. And instead of doing 2, you'd end up doing 200. And he said, I would do 10, and I honestly couldn't tell the difference between 9 of them. They were all the same. Like somebody wanted an eyebrow raised 1 centimeter. And he said, I don't even know what a centimeter is. We're into foot and inches here, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It becomes ludicrous. And so tools are only as good and creative as the people using them. And I think right now the digital tools are often abused by the people using them.
Yeah, that's very true. On behalf of Studio Yutani, I would like to thank our community supporters: Perfect Organism Podcast, AVP Galaxy, Nostromo Files, LV426 Discord, Aliens Gateway Station Facebook group, and Project Acheron on YouTube. After Ripley ejects it into space, because you've already read all the different script variations, I would assume, having written the story and stuff like that, do you think the alien could survive out in space?
I never thought about that. Let's see, could that weird alien creature... Well, it seems like it can, yeah. It's trying to get back in the ship. If a human is ejected into space, the human would not be able to sort of try and struggle back into the ship, I don't think. Particularly if it's not in a suit. The alien's not in a suit. So it does seem to have some space carrying capacity. Maybe it could only last an hour or so, but it seems to be, let's put it this way, it seems to be able to do better than a human out there.
That's true. It must be it's the structure of the carapace or something. With Geiger's ideas about the aliens in comparison to what Ridley was trying to achieve with the film, I know there was a bit of back and forth with the changing of the design of the suit. We went from something that was transparent, and then I think the outfit wasn't very durable, so they had to go to the black suit instead. Do you think Geiger's vision ended up being what he wanted it to be in the end?
Yeah, I think Giger was basically happy with the way things turned out. That's what he said at the time, and I mean afterwards there are some interviews where he, was a bit more negative, but I think at the time he was happy. I think he never made a movie before. If you've never made a movie before, and a high pressure, high stakes movie like Alien, which was, the studio's Star Wars, equivalent to Star Wars movies for 79, for all of that it was a steep learning curve for him. And my understanding of the clear one is not that Ridley Scott wanted it different. It's just that they couldn't the person who was involved with making the pieces clear and all that just couldn't come up with a technique to make it work for the costume. It just wasn't going to work out. I think Giger was disappointed, and says that in his journals. He was disappointed sometimes with the caliber of the craftspeople he was working with, except for Voisey, Peter Voisey, I think, who he thought was fantastic. I think he was a little disappointed with some of the other craftspeople because they were not as good as he was led to believe they would be. And that's not to in any way disparage the crew as a whole. I think the English crews at that time in England and today were fantastic, and that's why people were making all these movies in England, besides the fact that they were cheaper, where they had these great crews. But I think Giger had very high standards and thought he was going to be working maybe with, people who were classically trained, and I think only Voisey was of the crew that he worked with.
Mm. Yeah, that would have been hard. You got to kind of reel in your expectations when making a film, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's who is available for the job, and sometimes it's not the sorts of I guess training and background that you'd expect with some of the crew.
And also, they have this attitude where as long as it holds together for the 3 seconds it takes to do the shot, then it's fine. Giger was a trained industrial designer. He wanted it to last, for 15 years. I'm sure that was some of the sources of friction.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the same in cosplay as well, because I used to do cosplay. As long as it holds together for the convention, it doesn't matter.
Right. Right. In Star Wars, you've seen the film of the Star Wars, the stormtroopers' pants falling off as as they come in through the door. It's quite literally held together with duct tape. I mean, that's what's great about movie making. It's just so seat of your pants. It's hilarious sometimes.
Mm. And I guess that's why you get the blooper reel as well. There's always something funny to see.
Right.
Is there anything new that you learnt about the characters that inhabited the Nostromo? Anything about Jones or anything about the actors?
Well, I mean, because I was coming to it fresh, I was surprised, but also not surprised by the way that Sigourney Weaver was treated. Ridley Scott's been this. You probably heard about it before, but the way they deliberately treated her as an outcast, so that the real life would reflect the life of her character in the film, and that's something that directors do primarily to actresses. All the time, or not all the time, but it's been done many times in films. Hitchcock did it to Joan Fontaine, I believe, and I think it's very tough for the actresses or the actors. But I'm sure Alien fans have known about that for a long time.
Mm.
But it was new to me. But I think in terms of something that's discovered, it's hard for me to tell because I can't remember, what might have been a really new piece of information because it was all new to me.
Oh, okay. At least with the design of the derelict and abandoning the concept of the pyramid, were you aware of that?
Before I went in? No.
Yeah.
But no, I really didn't know much of anything before I started the project. I go in fairly ignorant, and I come out knowing much more than I ever thought that I would know. It was the whole script process was fascinating, and of course, from the get-go, there's been the debate about, the argument between David Giler and Walter Hill about getting credit. Dan O'Bannon was extremely vocal for the entire post-production or post-Alien period about whose idea was what. Well, not whose idea was what, but how much they contributed to the script, and there was a well-publicized dispute. All of that I found fascinating, and I hope that I strip off any kind of mythology about that. I tried to be as objective as possible. I did see some actual, letters from Fox and Dan O'Bannon to the WGA at the time, which were quite interesting. It's just interesting. And I think there was some kind of credit dispute at the end between Geiler, Walter Hill, and Gordon Carroll. These are very tenacious project, and everybody, a lot of egomaniacs, a lot of very creative people, a lot of very strong personalities. So it's just normal. And I think I was very impressed, with Ridley Scott's ability to pull it all together, because it's really his film.
Yeah, there's this sort of argument, I guess, when it comes to creation of films. When a film is very well received, the director gets all the credit. and also when a film is not very well received, the director bears the brunt of all the criticisms. But sometimes the director isn't a team player, because they're supposed to be able to take everything, and sometimes the blame is pushed off to either the writer or the producer or the actor or something happening in post-production with the editor. So it's very rare these days that you see someone who can just take the good and the bad.
Well, I think today you have a lot of people who are directing who haven't put in their time in, I guess you could say, the apprenticeship stage. Mm-hmm. It's before you really had to put in a lot of work, and you had to have a fair amount of experience before they would let you direct a film. There are a few exceptions to that, people who just were able to direct right off the bat. But in general, it's better to have somebody who really knows what they're doing, has a lot of experience. And Ridley Scott had directed many, many advertisements, and he worked at the BBC and was already the biggest TV commercial director in England at that time. And so, he really knew what he was doing, although he still had a learning curve in terms of making a feature. He'd only done The Duelist before. But I think Ridley Scott was really good at getting information from all the HODs, all the department heads, and bringing in people like Roger Christian and Les Dilley, who had both worked on Star Wars, to do the used universe look. But then also, I think that was one of the things that maybe people aren't that conscious of, is how much 2001 was an influence on Alien. Because everybody talks about the truck drivers in space, which was also in the Dan O'Bannon film, Dark Star. Mm-hmm. But there's also very much a 2001 look on board the Nostromo. There's two different design aesthetics going on, and I find that really fascinating. But Ridley Scott is the one who really pulled it together. He's the one who did the storyboards, which enabled him to get twice as much money to make the movie. That's a big moment. And that was clear. That was his vision of what the movie would look like, not Giger's, not anybody else's. So I think he deserves the lion's share of the credit. Now, in some cases, an editor can save a movie. And in some cases, the music could really help save a movie.
Yeah.
And some directors hand over their footage and leave and let the editor cut the film. But Ridley Scott was there every single day, all the time with the editor. So I think he really does deserve quite a bit of credit for the success of the movie.
Yeah, I agree. He did contribute quite a bit. I guess in the beginning, it was kind of directionless, and I think Dan could sense that the studio was starting to wane in interest because they couldn't get any directors to commit to the project or have anything solidify. So it was Ridley Scott that kind of wrangled everyone and drove the idea home that this movie is going to be, genre changing, which it was.
Right. He had this vision for how to do it. And Walter Hill was going to direct it, but then he decided that he wasn't interested in directing it. And Ridley Scott saved the project, and he shepherded it through with the help of dozens of other extremely creative people. But he was the one saying once you have a director like Ridley Scott or Steven Spielberg or James Cameron, everything goes through their filter. It's like Ralph McQuarrie in Star Wars. Ralph McQuarrie was a fantastic artist, wonderful artist, beautiful human being, but he wasn't a film director. And, but George Lucas was. And without McQuarrie, the film would not have been as good. But George Lucas can make films without Ralph McQuarrie and not vice versa.
That's true. This episode was brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Thank you to Timothy Cullen, Benjamin Scottford, P. Wayland, Michael Andrews, Sarah Hall, Project Acheron, Daniel Cooper, Zachary Rice, Lady Anne, Zeno Park, Georgina Gray, and JB. Without your support, none of this would be possible. Thank you.
I had a question to ask. So, because you had to go through the whole process of the making of the film, I was wondering, I couldn't actually find out who came up with the original face hugger design. I had come across an artist's impression by Joe Patagno. Is that Patagno? Yeah. Of the face hugger being fixed on a skeletal X-ray, with the face hugger impregnating the host. Was that pre-Geiger or after Geiger had made his design? Because Joe says it was pre-Geiger, so he was the one who designed the face hugger. But obviously we don't have anyone around to kind of confirm that.
Well, it's a little, yeah, I don't know. But all I know is that at the time, nobody mentioned Joe Patagno. And O'Bannon's story is that when he got the money to start doing concept art, his first call was de Giger. And he sent his sketches, and this has been, in 100 magazine articles, sent his little sketches to Giger, and Giger made the first concept drawings. But if this guy has, you never know, if this guy has documents to prove it, maybe he was before Giger. I couldn't say for sure, one way or the other. But yeah. Rod Serling used to say that another group was trying to make Planet of the Apes before Arthur Jacobs. He said that to a couple of magazines, but nobody's been able to dig up proof of that claim. Sometimes I'm not saying this guy is the same, but I've interviewed many people, and sometimes your memory can play tricks on you. In this case, this guy has art, which is beautiful artwork, incidentally. But I have no idea how it relates to the chronology of the story.
I think he was just trying to say that he had conceived the idea of the facehugger 3 years before Alien was even thought about. So it's interesting because we live in a digital age now where we get information and people can kind of weave their own facts as to how things happened. It's not guaranteed that is the way things have happened. So, yeah, it's really interesting.
Was he a student at USC? O'Bannon would have been he would have been at USC or working on Dark Star. So, I don't know.
Yeah. All I know is that Dan was looking for someone to do a special animation for the film in Alien, and that this guy had started creating this concept at Shepperton Studios with Dan O'Bannon before Hans Rudy came along, because there was several artists involved.
Dickon. His last name was
Roger Dickon, yeah.
Roger Dickon. Ultimately, his was the final design of the facehugger. It's possible that at some point at Shepperton, who knows? Dan O'Bannon was sort of going off and doing his own thing. He might have asked somebody to help him design it while it's separate team, but that wouldn't, to me, give them prime design credit. It has to go to Giger, even though Dickon designed what was actually used in the film. The basic concept was Giger's.
Yeah.
And really before that, it was O'Bannon. And O'Bannon was, as he himself said, was stealing from everybody. So, there was a whole lawsuit from the guys, the person who wrote the original story that from outer space, whatever. There's a troubled family tree for Alien.
Yeah, and it kind of happens to every single film since then as well, with all the other Alien films. Either the writers don't get along with the director, or the studio are having trouble with the director or the people who are involved in the production. It seems like that curse has kind of stayed around, but for better or worse, produces amazing Alien films.
Yeah, you get a bunch of very volatile, creative people. You throw them together, and they have to get to know each other in a very short period of time. And it's a dangerous mix.
Since the main Alien film, have you noticed, now having studied all of this stuff leading up to the creation of the first film, have you noticed a lot of ideas and influences coming into the later films? Have you watched the other ones?
I've seen all the Alien films, and certainly, Ridley Scott had this idea that at the end the Ripley character should have her head ripped off by the alien, and Fox said, "Absolutely not. Are you out of your mind?" That's if we have sequels, who are we going to have in the sequel? And also, she's going to be a big star. You don't rip off the head of the big star. But that definitely happened in, I forget which of the last two Alien movies.
Prometheus.
Yeah. So, he finally got to do what he wanted. And there's plenty other designs that were discarded, or ideas, and they were discarded along the way. Just like Star Wars. It doesn't work in one film, so you stick it in another, that maybe it works where it works better. Or maybe it was a terrible idea to begin with.
With I guess David was the star of the film, and he had his head ripped off in Prometheus. And then in Alien Covenant, we discover that Elizabeth Shaw, who we thought was going to be the main star, is dead. So, Ridley really did get to go with all of the concepts he never got to bring to life in his first film.
Right, and then you had the two heroes of Aliens killed off before Alien 3 even started, which I remember at the time as an audience member not being too pleased about.
and that makes me wonder with Daniels and Tennessee being the survivors at the end of Alien Covenant, whether indeed they'll be alive in the next film.
You just don't know. Right, there's contracts and there's egos and there's any number of variables that you can't possibly predict. So it's in a way it's kind of fun to see what happens.
Yeah, I enjoy that unpredictability. Was there anything in particular in the making of Alien book that you recommend?
You mean things that I read that helped me write this, or things that I watched? I mean, certainly the documentaries on the Blu-rays are great.
Did you end up going to any of the Alien blogs? Because there's a lot of comprehensive ones out there.
I mean, I have to look in the bibliography. There was somebody, bless their heart, who transcribed the DVD commentary. I was so happy. I had to do that myself. But there's a couple really good. I'm afraid of mentioning one because then the other one. But there's definitely very good Alien fan websites out there. The 2 or 3, and they're really, really helpful in terms of just, pointing me in the right direction. And it's like, oh, that's the star log I need to buy. So then I go and buy the star log on eBay. And then there's the Internet Archive, whatever the hell it is, who actually have whole episodes of Fangoria. You don't even have to buy them.
Yeah.
So the Internet is just, because everybody's contributing to it, it's such an incredible resource. It makes, I think if you're writing these kinds of books today, it's so much that your books have to be better. If they're not better than the books 20 years ago, you're doing something wrong, because you have this powerful tool at your fingertips. And I mean, I've written an historical novel, and I could find out things in 5 seconds that would have taken a writer months to find out before. Just the most obscure historical things. And for film, there's so many interviews online. It's just fantastic. Old articles. I can't say enough how great it is.
Is there anyone that you always wanted to speak to who had a role in creating Alien that you got to speak to for this book?
Well, I definitely Ridley Scott. I've always wanted to. For me, Blade Runner was a seminal film growing up. I was born early enough so that I got to see all of his movies when they first came out. And so to meet him and be able to talk to him for a couple of hours was really a treat. It was, it was worth all the work just to be able to do that for me. And then also, it was nice. Roger Christian's a friend of mine, and it was nice to be able to talk to him about it again. Roger Christian's book, actually, that's what I would recommend. Everybody should read Cinema Alchemist, the Roger Christian book.
I'll make sure I link to that in the blog.
Yeah, his book on Star Wars, Alien, and the life of Brian. He worked with the Monty Pythons. Who worked with George Lucas, Ridley Scott, and the Monty Pythons? I mean, how fantastic is that?
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I got to talk to Terry Rawlings, who is the editor and also a brilliant sound designer. So and other people. I was emailing back and forth with Brian Johnson, who's, one of the great giants of English visual effects. It's just an honor to be able to talk to these people and learn about how they did these wonderful, because they're works of art. Cinema will go away one day when they create VR that somehow works and doesn't make you puke. When the next technology comes along, people will wonder, how did people sit in the dark and watch this two-dimensional thing? It will be like the equivalent of, the zoetropes. But some of these movies will stick around forever for as long as there are people interested in art, because these are great works of art. And I think Alien may be one of those films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to speak about that we haven't managed to cover on this very, very all over the place interview? But it's been really interesting listening to you share your creative process.
I don't think so. I mean, I think one of the funnier things was Fox creating this giant merchandise program for a film that kids couldn't see with a monster that rips people apart. And I mean, who the hell's going to buy these toys? I thought that was funny.
Thank you, JW, for coming on to the show and joining us for Alien Day. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and it must be just really amazing to be able to contribute to the Alien universe with this making of book. I'll include links to the book on the blog post, and I'll also include ways of people being able to look at your other sources of work on the website. What else would you like to say to the Alien fans out there for Alien Day?
Just keep on enjoying the Alien franchise.
Thank you for listening to Studio Yutani. This is Mother 9000 signing off.
Remember to like, share, or support Studio Yutani on Patreon, and subscribe to yutani.studio to stay up to date. Transmission complete. This is Mother 9000, signing off.